Be talking about two studies that we conducted at Sesame Workshop designed to understand a little bit better the age of children who are 6 to 9 years old. And there has been studies of children younger, 6 and younger, and there has been, from Kaiser also, children 8 to 18. But we were really interested in looking at the 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds, particularly the first and second graders, as we are preparing to bring back the new electric company. So we're bringing back the electric company. And so we wanted to get a better sense of this particular age group, because oftentimes in these larger surveys, the 6, 7-year-olds may either be combined with slightly older children or slightly younger children, but we really want to have a better sense of what children at this age are doing. So we were looking, we did two studies. Next. One was the national study. It was a phone survey of mothers of children 6 to 9 years old. We had 1,200 moms who were conducted by telephone, and the research was done by Russell Research, and then it was weighted by Harris Interactive to be nationally representative. And then the second study, we actually did in-person interviews with children mostly in low-income areas. They were in Title I schools, and this is part of these were locations that are in the Ready to Learn footprints, where we really wanted to get a sense, talking to the children, of what they were doing. And it's hard because oftentimes with older children, you can talk to the children and get a sense of what they're doing. With the younger children, you ask their mothers or fathers or other caregivers. But we were really trying to get a sense of both. What would parents say, what would the children say? But they're not exactly similar samples. One is nationally representative, one is in areas of children with Title I schools. So our key questions for moms: where do children spend their days? To what degree are children using various media? And who is using the internet and how are they using it? There are a lot more slides than I'm going to go over here, but just to give you a gist of some of the interesting ones. Next slide. In terms of internet use, low income is the greatest barrier to home internet use access and other modern media. So we divided the sample for those who earn less than $25,000, those who earn from 25 to 74, and then more than 75. And you see that there's a huge difference for internet use, where about 50% of those with less than 25K have internet. But in fact, the fact that about half of those families do in fact have the internet, when they're making such little money and they're at the poverty line, they still have internet. I think that is sort of a very striking fact, but still it's not up to what the higher income families have, but still 50% do. And something like the iPod also is very influenced by income, whereas TV is not. Next slide. If you look overall on how children are spending their time, television and reading, according to their parents, dominate on weekdays. So you have about parents reporting that 31% of children are reading an hour or more on a weekday, 57% are watching an hour or more of TV, 36% are playing video games more than an hour, 30% watching DVDs more than an hour a day, and 9% are using the internet on any given weekday. Next slide. And on the weekend, what picks up is TV and DVD usage, with less reading, according to their parents. So on the weekend, 74% of children are watching more than an hour of television, and 64% watching DVDs for more than an hour. About 18% are using the internet for more than an hour. Next slide. One of the very interesting things that we found is that when you control for access, it looks like African American children are spending more time on the internet than white children, and that is something that we might want to look at in the future. There's something very interesting here, is that once you're controlling for access, you do see differences. Next slide. We asked, what is your child doing when your child is going online? And parents are saying that the majority who spend time online, they're really doing so they're playing games. We also asked about downloading from websites, which could be a variety of things, different activities, things that they can print out, and then research for school. There were some interesting ethnic differences here as well, in that African American and Latino families were in fact using the internet more for educational purposes, such as research, than their white counterparts. Okay, so that was some of the findings from the the large survey. We have a lot more if you're interested, and you can talk to me about that. But I just want to switch to the child survey, which was very interesting for several reasons. We were interested in what the population of children who really are from high poverty areas, what they think about media, what they're doing, how they're spending their time, because they're often not represented in a lot of these different studies. So we were interested, what do they have in their home, what they think about it, what are their favorite games and websites. Next. But one of the things that we did is we just wanted to get a sense of when you self-report in general, and it's not just for children, we decided to stick in 6 games or websites that do not actually exist. And so what we did was, it's basically a validity check. And it wasn't done to trick the children. It was really done, more surveys should really do this, not just for children, for everybody, that you ask people about things that don't exist, and if they say yes, and you know about those things that don't exist, you know that their other data is probably not entirely accurate. It's not because I'm so mean and I wanted to trick the children. People say, oh, your lie scale. It's not exactly a lie scale. It's more of an exaggeration or excitement scale, maybe, instead. So we asked about KidVid. Do you watch it? Do you post videos? Goo Bops, Lavitron, Hippo Team, and Bosworth. We just made these things up. And in fact, about 38% of the kids said they visited the non-existent KidVid website. Overall, 56% of the children said they played or did a non-existent thing. So from then on, we looked at the data between those who had clean data, those who did not have clean data, and in some places we couldn't get to all the questions, so we were sort of using different questions in different places. So we have sort of red, green, and yellow to sort of get a sense. So next slide. So here's where it gets interesting. If you look at those with clean data versus, we don't really look at clean data versus non-valid, we're calling it data for lack of better description. If anyone has a good way of describing that, let me know. What you find though is that children are, the difference between the non-valids and the clean is that they're more likely to exaggerate on the new digital media, which suggests that there's something very cool about new media, that if you're more likely to exaggerate about digital media and sort of having those things like iPods or having your own cell phone or having a video game console, a portable game player, the fact that you're more likely to exaggerate that than about magazines or newspapers or TVs, I think that is really telling about it. So what actual incidence rates are is a little difficult to tell, but just the fact that what kids may be exaggerating on, I think, is very telling. Next slide. We asked, have you ever done this kind of thing? And so listened to music from the radio, gone to MySpace. So if you look at, have you ever visited MySpace? Of the clean data, you have 19%. The non-valid, you have 54%. Or posting your own videos on YouTube, 7% versus 42%. So the likelihood is that even if you sort of split it in between, you sort of see it's lower than what children might report. But just the fact that they want to say that they're doing these things suggests that it's very cool and very aspirational, and we're leading towards, you know that sort of your cool factor of these things is very strong. Next slide. We also asked about different video games, and you see everything here is statistically significant between those with clean data and those with not. There's just real excitement about video games. The next slide. And if you ask them about the websites that they visited, like you were saying, that Cartoon Network, Disney, Nickelodeon are the most popular. If you look at Webkinz and Club Penguin, for this population, it's not as high as we think. And I think we also have to remember that looking at 6, 7, actually these were mostly 7-year-olds. These were second graders, so there's some 6s, some 8s, but these were mostly second graders. We got to think about the differences between those younger children versus the older children and what these younger children are doing. And as things get disseminated more widely, we're going to have more younger children doing these things. But just at this point, especially for low-income children, we're not quite there yet. So what did this tell us for moving forward, understanding this age group as well as Electric Company? We have to be aware of today's media use and have a realistic expectation of what children have access to and what they're actually doing. And TV does remain the one medium that everybody seems to have, but the excitement about new media and digital media, they want to have these things. They're very excited about it, and we know that really that's where they want to be. Digital divide still factors into it, but there is some evidence that minorities might be using it once they have access for more educational purposes, and there's some promise there. And as such, we are this is interesting just for a scientific endeavor, but it's really informing, as the workshop always has. All the research that we do really is reflected then in the content that we're producing. So we're really thinking about Electric Company as a 360 approach with content on all different platforms so that we are reaching children where they are today and where they're going in the future.